Hey everybody, I just want to make this video regarding my views on the pros and cons of student loan forgiveness and my experience or my personal history is that I am in a minority. My father is on drugs and has been on hard drugs for a long time, has been in and out of the home, was gone for a lot of our lives, and my mother used to physically abuse us, and she was an alcoholic, and father is on meth and things like that. And we came from a very poor family, so I do feel as if I do have some like opinions on this thing because again, I came from a very poor family. Like, we didn't know if we're going to eat the next day. We had to live very frugally. We didn't have many opportunities. We had to sacrifice a lot of our opportunities, but despite that, we still gave what little we had to help others. And so I wanted to give my views on student debt forgiveness. And what do I think? I personally think, yeah, it would be great if we can like forgive student debt for everybody. I mean, did I benefit from any kind of student debt forgiveness? Would I? Not really, because I pay for everything on my own, and I've made a lot of sacrifices in my life. But the thing is, with our country, it's like we do so much spending in ways that isn't beneficial for majority of the people that we could cut down a lot of costs when it comes to like military spending, maybe some how we subsidize our governments or just our businesses and things like that in general. We could and should spend down cut down a lot of other costs, but I don't really want to get into that. This is just more so about student debt forgiveness, and I'm for it, but it would have to come with a whole reformation of the system. Like, we can't just forgive student debt and not change anything. Like, we would have to change the entire system. So if we were to remove student debt, for example, we would have to um, make future students unable to claim these loans, or they would have to understand exactly what they're getting into. They cannot take out these government loans without truly understanding like the potential risk versus reward. And maybe altogether we would have to remove student loans. Like, it's just not something that can be issued by the government. It's something that only can be issued by banks. That way we have professionals who have incentivized interest to ensure that their loans will be paid back. But in my opinion as well, student loans can be good because you kind of want Americans to be in debt, and you want Americans to live, you want them to have financial hardship because it helps the economic system turn. As long as we have debt, people in debt, it forces people to show up to work, and it also encourages them to to participate in the system, and it encourages them to produce more than what they consume. So that helps everyone. So while I am for it, I could see a lot of reasons why we should also keep it as well. I mean, that's just because of the nature of our society and our economy. It's like we need debtors. We need people in debt. Um, when it comes to taking out student loans, it's sort of like a Darwin's theory in a practice. I mean, if people are really smart and they're taking out loans, they should know better. And you can say something like, "Oh, I was only 18 or 17 or whatever," but I was too. And it's like I failed out of high school. I got my GED right after, and I wasn't really smart. And I made the conscious decision after doing my own due diligence that maybe student loans isn't the best option for someone like me, and that you know I had to make the sacrifice, and I I've had to work full time, sometimes even two jobs while going through school and paying for college. So it's like, yeah, I've had to put off college for many years. It took me until the age of 28 to finally get my degree. So it's like I didn't make excuses. I just worked and I went through school and I made many, many sacrifices. I didn't get to do a lot of things that I would have loved to have done. And that's just part of life. We have to take sacrifices and we have to take on the burdens. Just, we have to do these things. I mean, we have it pretty good here because, like, other countries are in much worse economic conditions. And even if you're on student debt, right, and you have kids and you have bills and other obligations, it's like, yes, you might. A lot of people who did take out debt have great opportunities into the middle class or to sustain their middle class or to even rise more economically on the economic ladder. But, and I understand, like, a lot of people haven't had that and maybe they didn't graduate, or there's a lot of reasons, like, that could be bad that negatively impact their situations because of taking out debt. But you're going to suffer one way or another. You're either going to suffer by working and then going to school, suffer working and not going to school, or suffer and paying off your debt. But either way, it, everyone has their own burdens to carry in life, and it's all hard. Every route you take is going to be hard, and every one of those routes come as sacrifice, and everyone has been played fools before in their life, and everyone has taken on hardships. So, just think about it like that. I mean, it's not really about, like, okay, if we're gonna bail out corporations or we're gonna do excess military spending or whatever, why can't we bail out students? Well, that's a great question. I agree with you. Like, why are we doing that? I don't like it either. Everything's for a reason, but it's like, why are we doing that? That's a little unfair. But everyone has their disadvantages and advantages in life, and you know, I'm just saying, as someone who's graduated at 28, who's gone through a lot of hardships, like a lot. Like, you have to trust me. Like, my father is on meth, still is. I take care of him. I've had to take a lot of many. I had to take a lot of risks. I had to go a lot of above and beyond. I've had to work really, really hard. Like, I can't even explain how hard I've worked, and I've been abused physically. I've been discriminated against because of my race. But despite all that, you know, there are people way worse off than me around the world, and I should be grateful for the situation that I have. So, you know, I don't find that we should be doing that, because it's not really fair to give our responsibilities and burdens onto others who've done nothing wrong. And to me, if you have a degree, from what I've seen, no matter what degree you have, it's still more beneficial to have one than not. And yes, some people have like double. Some people have $10,000+ in debt. Some even the upwards of almost 100. But a lot of times, the decisions you made were up to you, and there's gonna be opportunities for you down the line. And will you have to pay out this debt? Yeah, you will. But everyone has to pay the price. So it's like, yes, life's hard, but well, what are you gonna tell me? My life was really hard. So was probably your neighbor who maybe didn't have the opportunities you did. But when you work hard, you take on the risks. You might win or you might fail, but no one's supposed to guarantee you anything in life. And everyone's been lied to one way or another. Everyone's been controlled and manipulated. And yeah, so it's not really my responsibility to take on your debt. And I've taken on many other people's responsibilities. So why do I need to take on another? Like, what are you going to be doing for me that I haven't maybe already done for you? So I don't really understand this notion of why of student debt forgiveness. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, you just have to work and take on the sacrifices, and that's just part of life. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong, but it is what it is. So, and you know what? Yeah, it's unfair that some people can file bankruptcy or default on their loans, and for this particular case, you can't. But um, how do you return what you've taken? It'd be kind of hard, and I think it's just a burden people are gonna have to carry. It's just nothing we can really do about it. So I'm gonna go over the list of pros and cons, and I'm gonna give my own personal experiences and perspective as somebody who paid for college, who came from a abusive home where the father was on drugs and my mother's an alcoholic who abused and physically beat us, and someone who's gone through a lot of hardships, or myself, who didn't have any opportunities, who had to find it, um, who works really hard, 60 plus hours a week while going through school full time, making a lot of sacrifices, stress, and who just kind of had to accept this is the way the world is. And as a minority, if that matters to you guys, I don't think it should, but it seems like that's what the politicians care about. So yeah, racially discriminated minority in America from a very poor economic family with a lot of physical and mental abuse. Okay. And I take care of my parents financially now. I take care of them, and I'm not even, it's not like I'm rich, it's just that I worked really hard. So let's see. Pro 1. Student loan debt is slowing the national economy. Forgiveness would boost the economy, benefiting everyone. Student loan slows new businesses growth, quashes consumer spending. Okay, so we don't necessarily need more spending. We need more productivity, and we need more good spending and more and more useful production. Like a service-based hospitality job isn't going to produce as much as perhaps like manufactured goods that we can export to other countries or generating energy. I mean, they all help, but it's like one has more value than the other despite whatever it is, and whatever it equates to in dollars, for example. So it's like we need more useful spending and we need more useful production. And so we don't really need, and also too, it's like, yes, spending will go down, because, but it's like if we're spending with debt and we're spending with money that we really shouldn't, then it's actually okay to save things. And even if the economy shrinks, that doesn't necessarily reflect the well-being of our country. So it's like, maybe if GDP declines, that doesn't necessarily mean people will be unhappier. Maybe we can make our supply chains and our economy more efficient, right, during this contraction phase. So it's not necessarily a bad thing if we were to slow down spending. An example would be like, okay, let's just use this one. If student debt is reacted, and students and people with student debt have a lower purchasing power, well, then landlords are gonna have to lower down rent. Homes will have to come down in price because the demand can't afford the current prices of supply, and everything will adjust itself accordingly. And maybe it should, because the US can't really rely on its debt-driven economy like it once did. Because no matter how good the US economy is, the US economy exploits the global financial system. So it's like we take from other countries unfairly in order to fuel our debt-driven economy. Now, is that fair? Not really. And when our country starts having more efficiency, we take less from other countries, which means we give them better deals, more fair deals, and that's better for them. So yeah, some businesses will go bankrupt. They'll go out of business. Some landlords will have to lower rent. Home prices will have to come down. The overall demand will go down despite the supply, and the supply will match that demand as well. things will always change in an ever-changing economy. So it also makes things more affordable for people who haven't taken on debt. It also makes things more affordable for people who couldn't compete inflation with inflationary spending or that driven spenders, because it's like, let's just say someone took out I don't know, let's just say someone took out 20, 30, $40,000 for their student loans, okay? And now they landed some management job or a regular job at Walmart, okay? Not Kmart, but Walmart, okay? The person with a degree, if they have a good work ethic, just like a person without a degree, probably has a better chance of climbing the corporate ladder than someone without a degree. So, that person with a degree who doesn't have to pay for the student loans has more purchasing power than the person without a degree. And that demand increases the cost for the supply. And so since we're reducing the purchasing power of those with student debt, that means that the supply of goods will come down in price. So that way it has to match those with debt and those who don't have debt. So it's good. The con one would be and also, yeah, like, just because we forgive debt, that's gonna make inflation rise. And then, like, yes, there'll be more purchasing power, but there's always a limited supply, right? So that's not necessarily a good thing. There'll be more money cycling through the system, but that doesn't mean that it's gonna make things better for people. It just means that there's more money going throughout the system. But it's not like the more there is, the better it is. It's inflationary. So yeah, it's not always a good thing. And the con one would be student loan forgiveness is an abuse of the loan system. People must be held responsible for their personal economic choices. A 2020 survey found 46% of Americans believe that student loan forgiveness is unfair, and to those who paid off their loans. Yeah, it is unfair. I mean, why should someone be able to take out a loan and then not have to pay that debt off? Like, okay, if that's the case, can everybody do that then? Like, can I take back like 10 plus of my years of working through college and school? Can I have that back and then go to school and then have all my debts paid off? That's no, because then you have to pay it off. Or what if another debtor has to pay it off? Because, like, if everybody takes out loans, who's going to pay for our loans? Well, I guess we can offshore our debts to, like, other countries like China, a country that we demonized despite it doing so much for us. So yeah, no, we shouldn't be able to do that, because someone's going to have to pay back that loan. And I don't know, to what extent is it okay? It's not to justify any other loans or debts that we take out in our country, and I'm not trying to justify any other forms of spending that we've done in our government. But I am saying that, yeah, this isn't really fair for anybody. Like, a lot of things aren't fair, and this is just one of those things that aren't fair as well. And I'm a high school dropout, so if I could figure out, like, oh, this probably isn't a good investment, I'm pretty sure others could too. But look, I've had to work and pay for my college, working 2 jobs, sometimes like average 50 hours a week for years, and I've made a lot of sacrifices. So if I can do it, why can't other people work really, really hard? I know it sucks. Trust me, I've been through it. If you're gonna say, like, oh, mental health, oh, trust me, I've been abused by my parents physically and mentally and emotionally. Like, I know all about mental health issues. If you want to talk about making any excuses, trust me, I can come up with any excuse in the book, just like you. I mean, I'm a minority who's been racially discriminated against all my life. I've been physically abused by others. I've been treated like terribly in this country. So, and despite all that, I still work hard. So it's like, why are we gonna make excuses? It's like, it's if it's a pity competition, I'm pretty sure I can beat a lot of you guys in that. And I'm pretty sure we can pull some random person from a different country that the United States exploits, and they're going to be able to beat both of us in a pity party. So it's like, yes, it is your choice to. Everything we do is our choice. And yes, the life's been unfair. We've been taken advantage of. We all have. Trust me, we all have. And I'm not trying to justify like corporations that cook the books or our abusive military spending or how we exploit other countries. I'm not justifying those things either. That's all bad, and we shouldn't be doing it. Or we shouldn't be bailing out certain corporations and subsidizing their losses. Like, I agree, we shouldn't be doing that. Pro 2. Student loan debt has disproportionately hurt black students. Forgiveness could help rectify racial inequality. Black college students borrow more than white counterparts due to family income, generational wealth, and parental education. Okay, so yeah, I'm a minority as well. I can understand fully what it's like to be. I'm on the lower ranks of the economy. We came from a very poor family. Again, father on meth, mother was an alcoholic. She had to work 2 to 3 jobs while putting food on the table, and we were physically and emotionally and verbally abused. And I can understand this entirely. I mean, I have a lot of things I need to work out mentally within myself, and it came with a lot of sacrifices. And despite all that, she did make a lot of sacrifices for us. And I'm pretty sure it doesn't really matter if the color of your skin. Yes, some people, regardless, have advantages with their skin, their looks, their economy, their connections. But it's still not fair to be bailing out student debt just for the hopes of creating racial equality, because it's like my family too has been discriminated against. We had a lot of our assets confiscated from 3 or 4 generations ago. Like, my family came as immigrants, and everything was taken during World War II. And we were Americans, and then we served our country in the war, and everything was taken away. We were thrown into internment camps. So, you know, it's like, I understand that black people have been disproportionately affected by student debt, but so have a lot of other people, and I'm a minority as well. My family has been thrown into internment camps. My family has their assets confiscated. My family has a lot of, like, my father wasn't around, and when he came back, he was on drugs, and he dragged me down. He dragged me down. My mother was verbally and mentally abusive, and physically abusive. So, I really do understand, like, what it's like to be on the lower economics, and what it's like, basically the lifestyle and the thoughts of a minority who came from that. But I feel for you, but I can't justify it, because why should I pay for you? Like, you don't even care about me. No one cares about me. This country doesn't care about me. And, I'm an Eagle Scout. I've always gone above and beyond for people, but people generally don't care. No matter who you are, you open the door, you treat people well, you give your heart, you wear it on a sleeve. And yes, this country is really unfair. And I understand. Like, I really do. Like, I'm a minority. I've been disproportionately hurt by the economy and society for generations, but I I can't really say that, like, it's still okay for me to have somebody else pay off my debt. Like, if I could go back in time right now and say, like, oh, like, it'd be like, okay, would I take $1 million from somebody, but it takes away from, like, everybody else? I wouldn't do it, because I'm like, That sucks, man. I've been there. Like, I understand, but it's like you're gonna be fine. You can still work one, maybe two jobs while pursuing anything else you want on the side. Will it suck? Yeah, it's gonna be a real grind, man. And it's like you're gonna make a lot of sacrifices, but you know, I could do it. You can too. You know, you're probably better and smarter than me, so it's like, yeah, if I can do it, you can too. And then there's also a lot of people who benefited from it too. It's like, yeah, just because you're a certain skin color or race or gender, like you probably you could also benefit from it too, and then exploit it, and then also exploit the debt forgiveness and have a good upper middle class. So it's like, I don't know. Con 2. Student loan debt forgiveness would disproportionately help rich or more financially secure college graduates. Okay, that's kind of what I was talking about. Konstantin Yanelis, professor of finance at the University of Chicago, found any policy that is universal loan forgiveness policy or cap forgiveness policy say. Okay, let's just go off what the headline says. Yeah, it would, because it's like it's not just for certain people with certain incomes. It's not like, okay, it's not like they only picked certain people, like, okay, this profession is like a social worker, for example, that makes, and social workers do get paid a lot depending on like your tenure and all these other things and what you feel the work is. But it's not like, oh, okay, this person works at a drug rehab and they took out a student loans so they could like study something that's going to be really useful for our society and those negatively impacted by a lot of the unfortunate things in our world. It's not like they're only going towards people like that or people who really help our country. It's going towards everybody and anybody who's took anything. And it's not, from what I'm aware, it's not even about your income either. They don't track you like, okay, how much income have you made in the past 5 to 10 years, and based off that we'll determine your net worth and we'll go from there, like to decide whether or not you need it. Like they don't make like accurate decisions that are, that are a little bit more smart, I guess is the right word. Like they don't just pick people who are like, oh, you know what, you're a father and you're a father of 3 kids, and you studied in sociology or psychology, and now you make like $50,000 a year, and you spend like 40 to 50 hours a week helping the needy and those who are who are on the lower rungs of our economy and society. So we're gonna help you pay off your student loans. Like, look, I I guess if we could gather all those types of people, I'd be like, yeah, dude, like we need people like you. And if you succeed, our country succeeds. So like let's help them with their loans. Let's help them pay. I guess if we can make conscious decisions like that, I guess I would be more inclined to actually actually support student loan forgiveness. It would be really, I would be more than glad to back that. But if it's like, oh, okay, someone studies finance or computer science or gender studies, on average these people are going to make more than someone without a student loan no matter what, or student without a degree no matter what. And it's like really hard to justify helping these people because it's like, look, these people are going to be higher income earners, and even if their degree is doesn't have as many job opportunities in that particular field of study, you can still find other jobs that in management positions or higher positions just because you have that degree, like hotels, hospitality, retail. Just because you have a degree, it's going to help you climb that corporate ladder or find better job opportunities than someone who doesn't. And you know what? You might have to put your time in the field as a grunt worker, and then you're going to have to build yourself up, and you might not be guaranteed like a good job at the very beginning, but gosh, like a lot of people weren't guaranteed a lot of things, and it's like me either. It's like I worked grunt works. I was a janitor, I was a housekeeper, I worked a lot of manual labor, I was a landscaper, I was a groundskeeper, and on the side I would study economics, finance, um, sociology, and other things as well. And it's sort of, and I don't ever stop studying every day. I make a conscious effort to put an hour or two on the side to study, and it's like, and pursue other hobbies like Toastmasters, or bettering myself in other ways, mentally or physically or emotionally. And it's like, you know it's like, no matter what, if I had just taken out a loan instead for college, for myself, even if I got some useless degree that maybe isn't that great compared to like a STEM major or something that's practical, I still would have been making more money if I had still taken the same routes, but I had taken out a loan instead. And I would have gone through less stress. Let's see, Pro 3. Student loan debt has infantilized a generation of Americans, preventing them from achieving milestones such as getting married, buying a house, or saving for retirement. Discharging such debt would help foster uh, a more productive and more socially constructive citizenry. Citizenry? I don't know. So, student loan debt. Okay, so yeah, I could see that. Like, our country and economy has expanded on too much debt. Like, we've been having we've exploited this world a lot. We've exploited other countries, we've exploited other people's labor, we've been exploiting other people's countries economically, socially, politically, geopolitically, militarily, and we extract all of their resources and take it to help our own debt driven economy. So, look, we might have to shrink as an economy, we might shrink as a population, but is that bad though? I mean, think about it like this. If you have a fish tank with like 10 fish and there's just not enough fish food, eventually some will die off, but we're not going to be as hard as that, because it's like we have the resources to give people a comfortable life until they pass, and then the birth rate will just go down as a byproduct. So is that necessarily a bad thing? I don't really think so, because it's like, it's kind of like, we grow as a society and economy and population if the resources are available. But if we've been taking resources from other countries and exploiting other countries' well-beings to grow our own, yeah, maybe we do need to kind of slow down a little bit. And our economy, our supply chains will adjust accordingly to that. And so things like getting married, buying a house, or saving for retirement. Okay, so let's just look at saving for retirement. There's already people who don't have enough money for retirement. So it's like, yes, you'll be in debt, but there's still people without debt who can't afford retirement. So maybe we have to look more into that, and I'm not going to get into that right now. Buying a house. Well, if you save your money and you wait for the perfect time where interest rates are low, your credit score is high, you save up money, you can afford to buy a house, or at least get a down payment. Getting married, yeah, you can still get married, but look, all these things are a byproduct of a debt-driven economy with too much spending, not enough productivity, and not enough like real value being created. But this is a really complex topic that it would take me hours to actually really get into. So look, it's just a way it's a byproduct of just how so many factors are in play that our society and economy is just reacting in correlation to the current conditions, right? Just like you put 10 fish in a fish tank, and if the conditions like water levels or the amount of resources or structures are available, then the number of the population will correlate with that as well. So Yes, these things are changing, but it's much more complex than like forgiving loans and then like this is going to become better necessarily. Like it might not, or it might not in the aggregate, because then it's still not going to fix the housing problem, and it's still not going to affect people's ability to save for retirement just because we do this. So con 3, discharging student loan debt would only be a temporary bandage for a much larger problem of the inflated college costs. Yeah, so my voice is getting tired, so I'm going to stop soon. But yeah, this wouldn't really fix the problem either. There's a lot of fundamental issues, and we're just going to have to keep doing this again. Yes, denying student loan debtors for the benefit of the bankruptcy benefits that all other debtors have access to. Yeah, it is unfair, and we should figure out like why is one thing okay and the other ones aren't. Like that's not really fair at all. Student loan discharge via bankruptcy would allow borrowers to abuse the loan system, encourage colleges to increase tuition. Yeah, it would. So we'd have to change things fundamentally and fix the initial problem. All right, I just wanted to give my opinion. Though it's getting tired. Y'all have a good day. And yes, you guys gotta pay your loans, man. Like, I'm sorry, you guys gotta pay your stuff.